Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Document Preparation 101. This will be the first part of the series. My name is Leigh Whyte. I'm a Laurel and Pelican in the Society for Creative Anachronism. I'm also serving as the Tiger Clerk of the Signet for the East Kingdom for the next week. However, in the meantime, I know some of you have requested specifically a class on how to prepare document-style scrolls. These are the types of scrolls that are made usually with mostly just calligraphy, although there are some examples of illuminated copies. Today we are just going to focus quickly on how to make the page prepped for stringing the ribbon through it, and we will go through the process of making finger loop braids such as one that you see here. This is a flat braid made with 5 strands. This will be the 5-strand braid. These are the strings ready to go. We'll take care of that after we've already prepped the document. But as you can see here, I've already measured out the page. This is going to be a 9¼ by 12 inch. Now that's a little bit beyond a standard framing size. The general idea of doing these is you want to try to make the page as close to a standard framing size as possible. And the reason for that is because custom framing is not cheap. And especially when you make a seal on a scroll, your framer will likely charge you some extra fees for the additional expense of what is called shadow boxing, which raises up the mat away from, basically creates a nice indent into the frame itself, so your wax does not touch the glass itself once it's framed. Now, as you can see here, yes, I am cutting into my desk. I don't recommend this for you. If you have a cutting board, please use it. My desk is very old, it's very well loved, and I don't mind doing this. But on average, I recommend that you please trim your edges, if at all possible, with a cutting board underneath. Now, this is going to be a side flap. This piece comes very neatly off. You don't have to do much more than score into it a few times and then just bend it up to snap it off. And that's how you get these nice crisp lines. Okay. Now, you can see that I've marked out what the differences are in the gutters. This is 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. This is going to mirror this. This is 1.5 inches here. This is 1.5 inches here. This line is a fold line, not a cut line. Although you can score into that, I do not recommend it. Namely because when you do that, you have the same problem as what I just showed you. 3 scores across that, and folding it actually breaks the page off. So we don't want to have that flap snap off. We actually want to have it attach, so that way it creates the nice fold. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, let's see, do I have a pencil? Yes, I do. Okay. Before this, we get too far into it, I'm going to mark the center of my page. So we know this is going to be a 12-inch long section. There's my halfway point. Okay, and I'm going to mark to there. This is important because of where we are going to be stringing the ribbon through. Now, as far as the flap goes, I have what's called a bone folder. The bone folder will make a nice crease along that line. You want to press just firmly enough just to dent it in. And just follow an even straight line down the straight edge. Might take you a few tries. Keep doing it until it's nice and fairly deep into the page. You may have to press a little bit more at the corners. A nice deep dent will help you when you fold this. Okay, so you can kind of see there's a little bit of a rut there, but I'm not quite comfortable with it being that shallow. So I am going to continue to rock this along a little bit. And you can see my desk is not quite cooperating because my desk has a missing screw on one side. So it's not as firmly anchored as I would prefer. Okay, there we go. We'll try this now. Okay, so you can kind of see just from looking down the page there, you can see there's a little dent right there. Now that's going to be your folding line. You can see it's, from this angle, you can see it's definitely deep. The tape that I'm using is actually an artist tape. You can see it comes off very cleanly. There's no tearing. I prefer to use this. Please do not use masking tape. It's not as artist friendly and will tear away not just the sizing on your page, but also some of the page itself. Okay, so you can see here that we have a nice edge, and I'm going to just start to worry this up a little bit with my fingers. Once you have that fold going, take your straight edge a little bit. And this will help you just slightly. Hold your page flush against that and your straight edge there, and start to bring it up a bit. So it starts to fold exactly along that seam. Okay. I recommend doing this gradually. You can see it becomes easier and easier to fold as you work at it. Fibers of the paper are working with me. So now that it's at about a 90-degree angle, I'm going to put my straight edge down and work the rest with my fingers. You can actually hear the fibers going crinkle, crinkle, crinkle there. Okay, so now we have it folded up, and you're going to take your bone folder again and smooth that fold out. This will help your fold stay nice and straight. And you can see it's already kind of started to tear almost a little bit right there. That's why you don't want to go too deep into your score, but at the very least it's not ripped off the page. And you can burnish it down, but it's still going to pop up a little bit. Okay. So now you have your bottom flap. I'm going to put my bone folder away. I'm going to take out my tape again and take this down because I need to make my markers for where the ribbon is going to go through. Okay. So now you have your document up on the page, and we're going to mark for the center. Do the center line here. Okay, so let's give it maybe about that much space at the top. Now the string can go through in a number of different ways, but because of the fact that we don't have a whole lot of it, we're just going to do a standard straight through equal sign. So you'll have a little bit of the string exposed in this section here, but it's not going to show a whole lot of it except on the tails. And bear in mind that you want to make as much string as you can. A little extra won't hurt you, especially if you do screw up the seal itself. So what we're going to do here is, this is probably about 1, 2, yep, that's 3/8 down, and go maybe about roughly 3/8 up. So let's say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Alright, we can go up a little further here. And, alright, so let's do 4 and 4. Alright. That works for me. Put that away. Okay, now you're going to draw your equal sign. The equal sign is going to be the slits. And I also need to draw my center line. So that's to center it up. And I'm going to make an even number of hashes on either side. You want to make your slits wider than the width of your cord. If it's a cord or a piece of paper, I recommend giving it a little bit extra because you still have to slip this through. Okay, so let's say this is about 1/8 wide for the cord itself. We're going to go a full quarter on either side. You can probably go a little bit wider than that even, but because this is a fairly thin cord, I don't really think it needs that much. So let's just give it a little extra. Okay, so 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So top line. Bottom line. Okay. Knife again. Now you want to be able to cut through both layers of paper. This might be a little tougher than before when you were just trimming the sides. As with before, you want to make a light score to start. sign. You can see on the underside there, we've got a little bit of a score going in, and I'm going to take the knife and go through. Watch your fingers. Okay, should be sufficient. Okay, so now that we have that going there, put my cord down for a sec. Now you can thread this through in a number of different ways. One of the ways that I prefer to use, I'm going to use this tool. It's a latch hook tool. Not very period, but it gets the job done without making a real big mess. So you want the hook portion to go through there. And you can see it's a little bit wider necessarily than the part that I'm trying to stab through. Okay. As you'd imagine, you can see the underside there. I'm just going to pull gently through that hole. Go back out the way I came in. There we go. Okay. So we now have just enough of it through, and I can work with my fingers to get the rest of it through. Notice that this end is not knotted. That is deliberate, and that actually will help you with pulling the cord through. Okay. Now we want to do the same move in reverse. We want the hook pushed through the page. And I've ripped it a little bit, but it's still on. Try to be gentle when you do this. Okay. All right. So we now have the cord slip through. You can do this with paper. If you do decide to do this with paper or parchment, remember that the parchment, you need to give a little bit extra measurement on the bottom flap, or you can use that little strip that I cut off from the side. Generally the idea behind it is you want to try to not waste the paper that you have. Try to use as many of your materials as you can, recycle wherever possible, and I'm sure yours will probably come out a little bit more graceful than mine has, but as far as the bottom part goes, I can now place my knots. Okay. And just maneuver so that way it's a little further up and the braid is not showing as loose. Okay. And take your embroidery scissors, snip off evenly, and that way you have your tassels. And we will be back. We'll do seals in the next segment. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thanks.